Well, hey, everybody, welcome to week 2 of CX and Coffee. We are so glad that you joined us back. If you have not yet tuned in, this is your first time, we are really glad to have you here watching along. My name is Justin Robbins. I do this thing every week with my good friend,
Marty Shaughnessy.
and we are in for a whole bunch of conversation today in the same vein of what we do every week. First up, we're going to take a look at coffee. This week, I stopped by my local coffee shop and grabbed a roast that I have not yet tried, and I am very excited to get going. Dude, I get so excited about coffee. You don't even know. You don't even know.
Oh, I know. I've been
Oh,
to your house.
yeah, it's fair. It's fair. I want to talk about the things that we as brands can do to stand out and differentiate ourselves from our customers and some of the challenges that can lie in the promises that we put out there into the world. But before we get to all of that, Marty, it would not be CX and Coffee if we didn't get into a little bit of shenanigans. So what'd you get into this
Yeah.
weekend?
So Friday night, my 23-year-old son and I went to go see Iron Maiden. I met a friend from Maine there, and it was very, very enjoyable. And it was inspiring to see these gentlemen older than myself still rocking and doing their thing. So that was a lot of fun.
So I never really got into Iron Maiden. Can you paint a picture of what it was like to walk into the venue? I mean, what was the demographic? Was the
Oh, it's
volume like who goes to an Iron Maiden show these days?
let's just say there was lots of jean jackets, not a lot of sleeves. No, just kidding. There was a lot of people wearing Iron Maiden shirts. I mean, there's some loyal fans that have been around for a long, long time.
We're both musicians. You still play a fair bit, Marty. What was it about their show? What was it about the experience that stood out to you that you're like, wow, they're getting it right?
I would say the number one thing is it's just so entertaining. It's like it's half musical. I mean, you've got three guys in the front playing electric guitar who all three of them will do solos. So it's the best stuff of I'm an '80s guy. I grew up with the guitar heroes, Steve Vai, that kind of thing, Eddie Van Halen. So you've still got these guys who are like blistering solos. The stage is set. There's set changes after every song. Sometimes the singer Bruce Dickinson will get out there and he's wearing a hood and he's creepily talking through the next song called "Fear of the Dark." And then it just like takes off. And then they've got this mascot they call Eddie, who comes out and he's like, 10, 11 feet tall. And they have like a gunfight with like fireworks. So it's just entertaining. I would say it's half entertaining. If they just stood there and played music, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it as much.
Yeah, we like the theatrics of it, right? I think it's like
Yeah. Yeah.
that to me
You're
is.
going to be entertained. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's like you can just throw on the vinyl because if you're listening to Iron Maiden, right, you definitely you have a right. Do you have a record player at home, Marty?
I have not gone back to the vinyl. No, I know as soon as
No, it's
I
fine. You're not a real Iron Maiden fan. I get it. It's
correct. Yeah, as soon as I make that move, then I anticipate there would be lots of money spent on albums that I've owned like 3 or 4 times already.
oh, I would do that too.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Now, let's start to get into things, Marty, because I'm not gonna lie. Like, I've been here with this wafting aroma, just like
Now for the important stuff.
teasing me this whole time, and I've tried to be really like good about not taking a sip, and I want to. If I'm being honest with you, I want to take a sip.
Do it. Do
Yeah.
it, Justin.
So let's talk about what I'm sipping first. Would probably be a great way to start.
Coffee. Starts with coffee.
It is coffee this week, and this roast is from Casablanca in Wilmington, North Carolina. When
Okay.
I am home, Casablanca is my home coffee shop, so stop by and see me some Friday morning because I can guarantee I'll probably be sitting there if I'm in town. But I will begin with the sentiment, Marty, of I look forward to coffee with you every week.
Very nice.
I do. I look forward to our conversations, and part of what I loved about this. So this coffee originates from Kenya. It's their Kichwa Tembo blend. Notes are hinting at orange, molasses, and syrupy. And I will tell you, so I've already brewed a cup here, but I do have some beans for our sniffing, because if you all were with us last time, you know I love to sniff myself some beans. No poetic writing on this box, but it does say an everyday escape. So it makes me sound like it's accessible delight.
Oh, exotic.
Right.
Yeah. All right, give it a sniff right close to the mic.
Here we go. Here we go.
That smells good.
You know what's... So what's interesting about...
Are you getting notes of syrupy? That's a funny like note to me. Like I get the other two, but syrupy is like a funny note.
I'm getting notes of an old fashioned.
Oh, okay. Oh, I can see. Yeah. The orange and
yeah, it's definitely sweet. I think is. Yeah, it's this is so interesting to me. Like, for those of you that like never really get into like small batch coffee and things like that. When you look at the beans, it's like the color is different. The almost like the vibrancy of what it smells is different, and so it's a fun adventure for me. The best part of the adventure, though, is this. Now, it's not as sweet. Going from the beans to the brew, which is, it's almost. Like it almost feels like I could get a sweet tooth by smelling it, which I think is really, really interesting. So I think from the syrupy standpoint, it's
some chew to it.
Not even chew, but there's sweetness to it, which I do. So this is black coffee. I'm not adding other things in here for people who are wondering.
There's no liquor in there.
It doesn't. Well. No, not today. Not today. Yeah, it's interesting. It does have kind of like a stronger sweetness to it. Maybe
Okay.
like when I think about last week's coffee, that was not the case. But this is very good. It's very good. I'll see how I feel about drinking more of it, because I could almost see there's certain brews that if I have more than 2 cups, like it almost starts to like be too much. I love Casablanca. They have a lot of great brews. And I got one more sniffing, Marty. I had to get one more sniffing. Now I got to roll it up for another day. So there you have it.
Cheers to Casablanca.
Cheers to Casablanca. We'll put a link in with the show notes. Wilmington, North Carolina. They've got a brew right for you. I feel like that's going to be my substitute for an old-fashioned now. If I'm not feeling like liquor, it's going to be the Kichwa Tembo blend, because that was on the money, the right thing. Moving on from coffee, though, time for a little bit of customer experience. And
All right.
Marty, I know we were looking through a bunch of different kind of questions and things that had come in. There was one inside a CX Accelerator that I thought was really interesting. And it was somebody asking about service signatures. And to me, I think service signatures can be a lot of different things. In some ways, they're the things that people come to know and expect when they interact with your brand. They could be surprise and delight things that you do for your customers, or they could just be things that aren't required as part of what you do, but you decide to introduce them anyway.
Okay.
And I want to talk a little bit about them, how they can maybe benefit businesses, but also some of the potential pitfalls there. But before I do that, I just wanted to ask, did you know that you've got a few service signatures with Declan Media?
I had never really thought about that till just now.
You have not? All right, so I'm gonna ask you about the first one, and this is actually the first one that came to mind for me when I started thinking about this episode. So there's something that you do around the holidays the past few years for your clients. What is that thing that you do?
Well, I just to show appreciation, I send them a custom yearly T-shirt and a little note, and sometimes I throw in some chocolate since we're so close to Hershey here. So yeah, just trying to it's the little things. So I just want to make sure that people know they're appreciated.
That to me is a cool service signature. It actually became a collectible that I never even thought I'd want or need. But the other day, I was putting on my deck shirt and I was like, wait a minute. Like it actually hadn't hit me until I started looking. I was like, there's a year tastefully put into the design of this shirt. And wait, now I've gotten them more than 1 year now, and I get them around the same time.
Yep.
Really cool service signature. Talk to me when you were kind of designing your business. I think this is the cool part about small businesses and entrepreneurs is you get to shape and influence a lot. That if we're part of a big company, often these things are the service signatures are decided for us, and we have to deliver on them. And we're going to talk about that. But talk to me, Marty, as you thought about your business, what was important to you, but maybe more importantly, what was important for you to do for your clients?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is just building. There's a book called The Company of One, which it looks like it was a prop, as if but I always kind of have it here because I end up talking about this a lot. So thanks, Paul Jarvis. And it just talks about the importance of client relationships. Gosh, I've been working remotely for 12 years, I think, probably now, close to that. And I do miss the water cooler aspect. I miss, we've all gotten used to being on the video calls, but there is something about, being able to, go for a walk or do something like that where you can kind of, just get to know people personally and in a different way. So part of I guess if I was looking for a Declan Media brand was just to be like this relatable guy who, I work hard. I try to be an addendum to the, a marketing department in a company. And there was something about the year end just showing a little bit of appreciation. And it was kind of like, you look at like, well, what can I do? I could send them a pen, all the other tchotchkes that you get at a squeeze ball or something like that. And I don't know. I just kind of went with. I've been designing T-shirts since I was 15 in high school, doing the old silkscreen stuff. So it just seemed like a natural fit. So it's been a lot of fun, and people seem to appreciate it.
Yeah, I love it because it's an extension of you in a lot of ways. It's not just the corporate marketing team. Yeah, they did this. They put together the fruit basket. Turns out there's a T-shirt. It's like, no, this is people who know you and work with you. They feel connected to you, I think, as a result of this. And, I think that essence of connection, whether you're working with a company of one or you're working with a company of 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000, we as humans we are dependent on connection to other people and to feeling seen and heard and understood. And, I think that's foundational to everybody's in the business of customer experience. And what I really mean by that is everybody is in the business of creating and stewarding connections and relationship well. Yeah. So as I think about the question that I saw around service signatures, and as I thought about, what's our topic for week 2 of CX and Coffee, it's really this idea around how do we most clearly articulate who we are, who we're for, and what we're about, but then most importantly, ensure that we show up in the way that we say we will with consistency. Right. Because if we don't, it gets undermined. And, Marty, one of the things that I've been doing a lot recently is this talk called More Than a Motto. And the whole gist behind that was, for me in my work as a customer experience professional and in working with CX pros, the number one reason why I see things go south is because there's just one disconnect that happens. Somewhere in the organization, a promise is made or a statement is put out or a service signature is, created. and then something causes the organization to not fulfill it. Right? This can be as simple as saying that,
That's a good point.
right, your product will be delivered on Friday, and it's not. You buy something expecting that it will arrive complete, and it's missing a part. It's even stuff that isn't required at all. I'll give an example. So we're all about CX and coffee, and a number of coffee shops, especially with drive-throughs, had gotten in the habit of putting pet treat bowls on the window. Has nothing to do with their coffee business. It is not required of them at all. It's just something that they do. It's meant to be a service signature. Well, what happens if they run out of treats, or if they are up against budget issues and need to look for cost savings and they can't do it? People are going to start to get upset about this lack of pet treats, even though it was never part of the getting a cup of coffee equation had it not been introduced in the first place. So I think it's really interesting, where these things can often be points of failure for us as businesses.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, as you were talking, I was like, well, I don't usually travel with my animals, but I do remember going to the bank as a kid with my parents, and they would get the lollipop. And I remember the time where I'd be like, all right, we're going to the bank. And you're getting this, like, back then it was like probably a penny candy kind of, like, wasn't a great lollipop, but it was a lollipop. And you didn't get to pick the color. And I remember, there were times where my mom would get the money and then the envelope, and I'm like, what the heck, no lollipop? This place stinks. You know what I mean? Now, again, I'm a kid. I don't know if that affected my mom, but it was those behaviors. Yeah, you're right. I mean, the consistency of, like, if you start something, how do you like wind it down, or how do you not finish it, right? Yeah. So if I stopped sending T-shirts and all of a sudden you're like, oh, look, Marty sent me a fruit basket, an edible, whatever. And not that those aren't great, but,
Marty, you talk about that. It's like you say that I was just a kid, but I think fundamentally our psychology around this kind of stuff doesn't change as we get older. If anything, I think we may even get more entrenched in our hope and expectation around consistency, and we thrive on predictability and patterns. Like, whether you think you want to be resistant to it or not, like we gravitate towards those things. And the tough part about this type of format is we could probably spend a lot of time on this topic, but I think I want to get two ideas across as we think about service signatures for your business. And really the first part is service signatures or mottos or brand promises at their intention are not bad things. In fact, I think they can be very good things. They can be the bits that differentiate you. They can be the bits that help to create better connection to your department or your business or your brand. But I think the first step that we have to do as we look at all of the service signatures or promises or mottos that we have as an organization is to ask a hard question around what's the actual implication of delivering on this. So if you're going to decide that your service signature is a T-shirt, now for you it was just something you did, but you made it an intentional decision to do that, right? Did you at any point think about, well, what's the implication of what if I have clients where they just don't wear T-shirts, and then they get offended that I don't do something else for them? I think about two things that I want to get across today in terms of service signatures. It's really two things. One is recognizing the implication of these things that we throw out to our customer bases, whether they're mottos, whether they're promises, or whether they're simple things like your T-shirts. And when I think about the implication of this, there's all sorts of dependencies. It's not just about what will I say or what will I do and how will people respond to it or tell other people about it, or we try to do a nice thing and they still get mad and frustrated about it, right? All of those things are realities. What I'm really talking about is, okay, if you say that you're going to be known for a no questions asked return policy, like, what does that actually mean? How do you make sure that the employees who are responsible for fulfilling that have the right processes and training and tools to handle situations as they come up. If you're someone who says that, hey, our service signature is that we provide the greatest customer service on the planet. Really? Like, what does that actually mean? And like one of the things that I do audits all the time of, brands and their mission statement and their values. And often they're these big grandiose things that, again, intention is great. But when you think about the practicality of it or the implication in terms of what will this cost the business? What are the trade-offs? Where are we going to have roadblocks with this? Where might processes get in the way of this actually being a reality? We've got to break those things down. Because as I mentioned earlier, one of the key problems that so many CX teams face today isn't big, complicated things. It's very simple. They have a service signature or a promise or a motto out there, and they haven't fully understood the implications, and then therefore it falls short.
That's a good point.
The second thing that that I think about there is, okay, it's one thing to have like the process and the strategy and all of that behind it, but do people actually believe this? Right? If your organization says that, hey, our service signature is going to be whatever. I think about, great example, think about the movie Office Space. Marty, have you seen the movie Office Space?
It's been a while, but yes.
Right. And so for those of us that haven't seen the movie Office Space, there's a fictional restaurant in there, and one of their service signatures is that all of the servers have to wear so many pieces of flair. And the one server gets kind of chastised because it's like, well, what's the minimum? Okay, I'm wearing my 15 pieces of flair. It's like, well, if you want to do the minimum, like here, this was this mandate that was just kind of pushed out, but the employee didn't actually believe it. And I think this is the other challenge, Marty. If it's not just about, do we have the right processes and training and support system in place, but do people actually believe these things? And for me, the belief is kind of three parts. It's like, do we understand it in our head, why it matters, the impact that it can have? Do we believe it in our heart? Do we feel connection to this, that it's something that's actually meaningful and beneficial? And then are we actually able to do something about it, right? If we think about our hands and feet, can we actually put it to work?
Yeah.
And that to me is like, that's the second and even more complicated part of it is, do people actually feel connected to the service promise that you're making and the way your organization is trying to deliver value to your customers?
Yeah, that's all good. And it's funny too, because I know, when I'm talking to someone, you can tell, if someone's trying to help me with something over the phone, you can tell pretty quickly which ones really want to help and really believe in their mission, you know what I mean, or the guidelines, and then the other people who are just trying to like push you through. Oh, sorry, is there anything else I can help you with? Okay, thank you. You know what I mean? And you're like, that was a waste of time, So, and it is so impactful when someone hears you. I understand your frustration, Mr. Shaughnessy. Let's see how we can fix that. And that is like releasing that valve at the top, right? And then it's like, it just allows you to kind of like, okay, this person, and by extension, this company really does want my business and wants to make things right. And that's huge. That's how you develop brand advocates for sure.
Yeah. And the crazy part about this, Marty, is like the bigger problem with businesses today and delivering great customer experiences, the problem isn't that they're not doing the latest and greatest from an innovation standpoint or, all of the stuff that gets hyped up. It really is those small things with consistency.
Yes.
And it's not sexy. It's not exciting. But, when I see someone make this post, like was the case with Service Signature, what they were really asking the question was how can we create a marketing tagline that will get people interested and excited about our business? And, I think the soapbox moment for this week's episode is having a really provocative or interesting or pithy and action-oriented service signature or motto is great. But if you don't understand the actual implication of what it takes for you to deliver on that consistently and at scale, then you're missing the mark. That's what I think I want to just kind of put out to the world today is, what are the things that you're doing to audit all of the promises, all of the mottos, all of the service signatures that exist in your business? Do you know what you're saying, where you're saying it, but more importantly, what it actually implies, what it requires of you and your team and your systems and processes to make it real? Because I can promise all of you this: if you had a greater bias towards acting in understanding the promises that you're making and then addressing the root causes of why you're not keeping those promises today, you will make exponential advancement towards customer satisfaction going up, to employee engagement going up, to the financial metrics going up. But you have to be intentional. You have to be intentional about understanding all of the places where you're breaking promises, all of the places where your service signature is just words. It's just empty words. If we can do that, man, we will have so many, I think, cool wins inside of our organizations.
Yes.
What's your learning moment from the week, Marty? As you think about Kichwa, Tembo, you think about Iron Maiden, as you think about service promises, what stood out to you?
Well, we're in the beginning of November, so I need to get started on those t-shirt designs. That's what I'm thinking about.
You're like, crap, I didn't think he was going to bring that up.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a funny. It's nice for you to say that it means something, because you kind of throw it out there and you're like, well, hopefully they like it, and a lot of times I'll get a note, but the idea that it actually has a little more weight than, oh, Marty gave me a shirt, hey kids, or cleated the car, use it to clean the car or something like that. So, yeah, it's important. I learned something today, Justin.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Now I'll tell you the other part of that confession. You've created some pressure and urgency for me to figure out what my holiday service signature is. So I'm not spoiling it here. You're gonna have to wait a few weeks and find out. But know that you are teaching me, you are encouraging me, you're inspiring me to do things that stand out for the customers that I get to serve as well. So I appreciate you for that, Marty. You say that you're not the CX guy, but you teach me lots of cool things about understanding and serving people. So I appreciate that. So that is a wrap on week 2 of CX and Coffee. I want to give a couple shout outs. First is to Iron Maiden for keeping it going after all these years. Thank you to the team at Casablanca for keeping me caffeinated when I'm at home, and for what I think is now my new alternative to the old-fashioned. And last bit for all of you is this: your organization probably has a lot of promises, service signatures, mottos, all of those things, and they're great, but we've got to be willing to do something about it. We've got to understand the implication that all of those words have on our customers, our employees, and us as leaders. So as we leave this week's episode, here's what I'd love to hear from all of you in the comments, or to shoot us a note. If you have a cool service signature that you just want to share, you like, our clients love it, our employees love it, let us know about it. Or if you've got advice on how you can better connect the promises that people are making to what it takes for them to deliver on those promises, we want to hear about it. As always, on behalf of Marty and myself, thank you for tuning in to CX and Coffee. We will see you back next week for a whole new brew.